Hey, y'all, welcome back for part 2. We are about to get into fatherhood. You do not want to miss it. So let's go. To my dad's point, and then Greg or whoever wants to go, but thinking about direction, my dad taught me, and Elliot made fun of me, my son made fun of me because I have a map in my car. And my dad has always told me, like, you may rely on technology, and we had little TomToms. I don't know if anybody remembers that, to put in the window to give you your navigation. But if you get lost, you need to know how to read that map and take responsibility of pretty much everything that you do and know the ins and outs of everything you do. So my dad has really been instrumental in shaping me as being a woman, to take responsibility and be independent. So, but Elliot made fun of me, Dad. I got that map.
You got the map.
I was like, we need to know. If we get lost, we know where we're going and how to find our way back.
That's important.
So Dad, you've always been, very responsible, into fitness, very educated, academically driven. What did you see growing up that you thought, okay, I think I'm going to do this a little differently, and then when I start to come into my manhood, I think I'm going to do this the same or do this different? How did you start to kind of have those conversations with yourself as you started to get older?
Well, growing up with 10 siblings and seeing their paths that they chose, not completing high school but going on to the military, and I don't disrespect that at all. And because my brothers would encourage me to continue in education.
Oh, that's good.
Because they experienced some setbacks because they didn't. So as I grew up, they would always say, you get your education. And I know all of you heard that.
Yeah.
From your parents. Yes. I heard it from my brothers and my sister. They encouraged me to get an education, to stay in school, and not to go to college because that was not a part of our orientation, but simply to graduate from high school because they knew that that would provide a better opportunity, job-wise and financially. So that was my motivation, was the people around me.
Yeah.
You are motivated by folks around you,
That's
not
right.
by what your own intuition is, but others around you. So that's my story, because the people encouraged me to do it. And I took on the challenge to see what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
Not knowing the outcome.
I think that even in that time, it's good to know that you had the encouragement, even though that may have not been their story or they had a setback. Because sometimes you can get negative influences because they are scorned or rubbed the wrong way of something that they weren't able to do. And it can change, the trajectory of what you get into. You may not have the courage. So I commend you for saying, okay, I'm going to stick with it. And I commend your brothers for doing that.
And sister.
And
because
sister.
They saw the opportunities that they missed.
Yeah.
They missed out on things because if they would go apply for a job, for instance, and the first question was, what's your educational level?
That's true.
And they could say maybe they dropped out of 8th, 9th, 10th grade. They couldn't say they were graduates, high school graduates. And so that hampered their development.
Great. Anything to add to something that you knew you just wanted to do a little differently or implement as you started to kind of grow up?
And it goes back to the whole trial and tribulation thing. Because I was primarily raised from a man standpoint by my stepfather, it was easy to see the things that I agree with and the things that I didn't agree with. And my stepfather came in my life when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So from that, I had a little bit of an understanding of, hey, this is who I want to be. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. So from there, it was easy to pick up on, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, my stepfather's a fisherman. He loves to fish, got a boat and everything. I'm not a fisherman. That's just not something that I enjoy doing. But again, I'll go fishing with him if he asks me to. It's all the same. But it's not one of the things that I particularly enjoy the most. So a lot of my experiences and figuring out what I wanted to and what I didn't want to do was, again, based off other people's experiences, learning what they did and didn't do and how it worked out for them.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to get into fatherhood. The trials and tribulations of that. How old is Mason?
He's 8.
8, 10, real grown, really, really grown. You got a whole 50-year-old Korean, 60, I don't know. So when your significant other or, who you conceived with, your wife, whatever that may be, when she said, I'm pregnant, or, started to think about we're going to start a family, whatever that conversation is or was, what is some things that came to mind of, oh man, because I'm going to tell you, first of all, me and Alfred were not married when Elliot decided to come into our lives. And I think Alfred thought, oh shoot, I got to get a hat. He went into go mode. When he was talking about earlier, I don't think we seen each other for the first 4 years of Elliot's life because he was so determined to create a lifestyle for us. And I appreciate him. And I've been very blessed to have a man that when he see the vision, he going to get it. So he made sure we had a house. He painted the whole house. I was 8 months pregnant, painted the whole house by himself. He can paint his butt off. That's one of his talents.
Give credit to my father right here.
I mean, he cut the edges and everything. And I just be like, okay. So what was some of the things that went through your mind? I'm going to start with you, Greg. When Shanice said, okay, I'm pregnant. This is what we about to do.
I was geeked up. Shanice was she was not geeked up. Shanice was not ready for kids at that time. We had been married maybe a year or so. Mason wasn't playing. I mean, we were just and don't again. We it's not to say we weren't ready for kids. I mean, we were building to where we knew. Mm-hmm. However, we weren't in a house. We were in an apartment. But when Shanice got pregnant, to your point about, I mean, it took us 6 months. We was in a house. So it jump-started everything. And it gave me just another sense of like, I was excited. Again, this is my legacy, get to, and again, going back to my dad wasn't there. So it was an opportunity for me to write something that wasn't there for me. So it's like, oh man, like I'm about to. Yeah. So it was a different type of excitement for me where it may be different for other people, but I was geeked up.
I like that. Like write your story. I like that. That was good. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I'll take the floor. Like Jordan said, when she told me she was pregnant, my mind just automatically just clicked, right? I said, was you in Speedway at the time?
Yeah, I was living in Speedway.
Yeah, so luckily my credit was decent enough to get a house at the time. So it was go mode, right?
Yeah, it sure was.
The guy we bought the house from, he was so nonchalant, moving slow. I said, fine, I'm gonna see if he need help. So I'll go over there trying to help him
move out.
So I'm helping him and painting at the same time. So I was trying to make him feel uncomfortable as possible. I'm like, let's get this going, So I stayed up all night painting, waiting for the paint fumes to air out the house, right? Yeah. Because she's very sensitive at that time. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like my cousin said, very excited. Going through in my mind, like, I hope he like basketball, which he doesn't. It hurts my heart. He said he loves football, but just all the things that he did with me start to play in my mind what I can do with him. So, but yeah, it was fun. Stressful a little bit, but more.
A little bit. It was a lot of bit, okay? Because it was a shock. Like, what? Okay, all right. You don't even know,
And give it up to her real quick. She was pregnant, going IUPUI, working at JCPenney's. And I would thank you to Doc because her work ethic and everything like that. And I remember the first time on our date, I pulled up. I never seen a female underneath her hood. So I'm pulling up, she all in the hood and everything like that. I'm like, what? Ooh-wee. And low key, I thought that was a turn on a little bit, right? So
she probably didn't know nothing about nothing. Did you know what was going on?
Oh, absolutely. Ooh. My dad said he had all girls, so he was raising boys, putting boy things in us. Like, you got to be responsible. You better check your oil. You better know how to. Like, I know how to change a tire. My dad was, used to have to wash my own car, wax my own car. I wasn't out here playing because my dad, I think, probably wanted a son. And I'm probably closest to a son because I'm very similar to him. Like, independent, go-getter, don't play no games, be responsible, be honest. And so he instilled in me a lot of work ethic. Yeah, he made me wash my car. Like, I'm not giving you money to go get your car washed. You go right in that backyard, wash your car. And by the way, wax it.
So imagine picking up your first date. Imagine picking up, the lady, right? And she shut that hood. She walk around to the right side of the car in her heels and everything. I'm like, oh, damn. Excuse me, fellas. I'm sorry. But I'm like, okay, all right. This date already, I know it's going to go good.
It wasn't because I was literally on the phone with him because I remember you had called on the phone with him. My dad would call me every week or maybe even every other day. Like, did you check your oil? Did you put oil?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to what is it? W40 something. I remember the little thing at AutoZone. 10W40. I'm checking my oil, putting oil in there. My dad didn't play. Like, you gonna be responsible in this world.
And she was. She was.
So it was teaching independence.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I'll pass the mic on.
Yeah, because the women have been viewed as being less capable. And I came from a family of men. We were all capable. So if you have girls, you have to teach them to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, they move on, right? They're not like boomerangs. They go out and they come back all the time. My girls do not come back home.
I mean, you did a good job.
They've never come back home. But I've kept in touch with them to make sure that they were safe and secure. But in the whole interim of raising kids, you think about their welfare, just as you do with boys. So you teach them things that you yourself would like for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, be responsible, do your homework, like you say.
Yeah.
Be honest. Seek out opportunities that you will be comfortable with and you will be happy. Jobs, for instance. Futures. Men. I always told them,
yeah.
Be selective.
I remember, not to cut you off, Dad, I'm going to move your mic a little closer, too, because I'm afraid we can't hear you as well. But I remember in high school, I always brought, I didn't bring everybody around my dad, but anybody that I was, serious about, I would bring them over to meet my dad. And I vividly remember somebody I was dating in high school. I said, I want you to meet my dad, because if I'm going to be hanging out with you, he going to shut it down if he don't know who you are. So they met. We was outside chit-chatting, and then he left, the guy at the time. I go back there to talk to my dad. He gonna say, nah, he ain't gonna be around for too long. I said, oh, shoot. He was like, he's a nice man, but he's no good. And he was like, every single person I've ever dated, I always run it by my dad. He's a good judge of character, and he can tell me right away, he's nice, but he's not gonna be good for you. And it's true. Even with Alfred, and a lot of the things that Alfred has within him is what my dad has within him. So I think they say women find a husband that's much like their father, but and that's very true. So yeah, dating and everything. I'm glad I had my dad to kind of run through and do that first interview.
But with all situations, whether you're raising a male child or a female child, you have to build that trust that
That's
when
right.
you say things, they trust you. They think you're wise enough to give them guidance. And that's what we're looking for. In manhood, you want to guide the children that you have, that you're responsible for.
Yes, sir.
And so if they trust you, you can have a comfort within yourself that they're going to be on the right track,
Mm-hmm. Senior, were you going to say something?
Yeah.
I think you were.
Yeah, after. Waiting for the father to get through. So we was talking about the, I think we were talking about the kid when he was first born. So, yeah. So when I met Alfred's mom, so I didn't say his first, but Alfred's my stepson. I love him dearly, and I always wanted to make sure that he never felt that ever.
And nobody would ever know because he raised me, what?
About 4 or 5. You was young. You was really young when I...
And I started to grow up, they thought we look alike. So I knew at that point, like, oh, yeah, this is my father right here.
So, now that, so his mom, she only had one with Alfred, and we were together. And I had a daughter, too, so I have a daughter. And she didn't want no more kids at that point. I said, well, I need a son. I need a son. And I'm going to say, like, 3 months later, she was pregnant. She was like, I'm pregnant. I said, oh, God, okay, cool. That's what I'm talking about.
Right on time.
And you know I'm going to have a son the whole time. I said, yeah, you're going to have a son. They go to Alfred. And so we lived in it. So we moved so fast. We was living in a 1-bedroom.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, she's in an apartment at first, and she moved in with me. So I was in a 1-bedroom.
Portico, to be exact.
House. Yeah,
Portico.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so she left from there, moved in with me, and so it was just me and my daughter and Tasha. But at that moment, I said, well, because Alfred was living at his grandmother's house, in the grandfather's house. I said, well, he needs to be over here with us. Because I wanted to raise him too. His father's not in his life. And I said, yeah, I'm not leaving him out. He's coming here with us. And she said, you sure? I said, yeah, I want him to be with us. And that wherever we at, he's going to be there. So it was very important for me to make sure that he understood that it wasn't just me and her, but it was all of us together.
And I didn't understand it at the time. I wanted to stay with my grandparents.
He came left kicking and crying. Yeah, he was spoiled. Dude was spoiled. He had everything he wanted over there, which is cool. But I wanted to make sure that he understood how to grow into a man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you get too many things given to you and you ain't earning nothing,
that's right.
Then you don't understand. Yeah. And so immediately after we got him in there, I said, we gotta get a house. So we bought it. We found a house, and his mom said, well, I want to be close to my mama's house. I said, huh? She said, you want me to be comfortable and not be on you working? Make sure I'm close to the house. So, hey, we found a house out that way, bought it. She was happy with it. I'm happy with it. We got what we wanted. And so, yeah, when you have your first son or daughter, whatever it is, you get excited as a man. You should get excited. Yeah. And get excited to where you're ready to be there, to love them, take care of them, raise them, guide them. And so, yeah, that was my experience. When she told me she was pregnant, I was like, it's on now. So,
shout out to little bro. Love you, man.
Yes. Yeah. So, Senior, I do have a question. So, what made you, because not everybody gonna say she got a kid, he gonna come with us. They may say he can stay at the grandparents' house. Like, not all men are doing that out here. Mm-hmm. And so, I think if you can give some advice to maybe someone in that situation, because that can also be detrimental on the child to feel like they're not involved or not a part of it. So, can you kind of like speak and expound on that?
Well, so it was based off of my childhood. Mm-hmm. My stepfather was not the most loving.
Okay.
And caring and teaching in a way that where you felt like this man loves me. And he wants to be there for me and guide me and teach me. It was more or less, I felt like I married your mom, you were a kid, you're not mine, but I want you to work and earn your way while you're here is how I took it. You know what I'm saying? But I said to myself, well, if I meet a woman and she has kids, I want them kids to understand that they're loved.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm here for you on all levels. So I'm gonna discipline you, but I'm gonna love you at the same time and teach you. So that was my motivation to when I met his mom, loved her, and she had a kid. I said, okay, all right, I can do this. I can be a stepfather, and I took that challenge on.
And you were young. How old? That's what I'm saying to be like, 20s. I can be a stepfather. Like, woo, you was young to even say that.
It's kind of funny because she was at his mom's house. She said, "You're too young for me," and I said, "I told her I'm a little older than what I was to have to be together."
Wait, how many years apart?
At least 5.
I did not know that. I don't think Alpha's ever told me that.
Yeah,
okay.
At least 5 years different.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. but she liked me. But she said, "You look young." I said, "But I'm real responsible. I'm a responsible man, and I'll take care of you. We're gonna be good." And
that's good.
So she accepted it, and it worked out.
That's good.
I commend you for that.
That's good.
Because I don't think all the time you can't have a blended family and be successful. I mean, there may be some bumps in the road, but some people just don't want to merge the family, and it can be detrimental to the family unit. Dad.
Well,
hold on. I'm not going to get in your business, but...
I think I was in college when I had my first child. I was ambitious. And I didn't want anything to interfere with that ambition. But I was so happy to have my first child. And when you hold them in your arms, you see a whole lot of similarity of yourself. And that's when the growth and development starts within you.
Yeah.
To want them to be okay,
Now I remember, Dad, you blended families. So you've been married 3 times, right? So Pam, God rest her soul, and my mother, rest her soul too. Your first wife, who you have 3 kids by, Pam treated me like a daughter. But that probably wouldn't have happened if you weren't a part of that, because you made sure we were together. You made sure that I went over Pam's house. Like, it was, I mean, you could clearly see, because we're not, our skin tone is a little lighter, me and Morgan, because we're biracial, but it was never a thought. They're like, oh, well, they're half sisters. It was just like everybody came together. So what did you do to make sure as a father that, I might have had kids with this wife and now I've got, my second wife. What was that conversation like, and what made it, be kind of a joint effort?
Well, the first marriage ended in a divorce, right? So I had custody of my children at certain periods. We shared custody. And then I had 2 more children in addition to the 3, but I had one outside of marriage as well. But I always wanted my kids to have that family feeling, that they were not separated, just similar to what he just said. You don't want children, even though they're from different marriages or different experiences, you don't want them to feel like they're separated. They have our genes.
Right.
They have my genes, my loins. So I wanted them to be connected. I wanted them to be sisters, not stepsisters.
Right.
Because that's a nebulous term.
Yeah.
So when I brought them together, and I always had them together, you would never know that they weren't from the same mama, because they all look alike and they all love one another and they interact like they weren't separated. So that was my purpose for keeping that family connected.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, babe.
No, that's good. That's something that's unheard of nowadays, right? So I take my hat out to you.
Yeah. They never knew. They never brought it up.
No.
They never brought it up. And one family connected to their stepmother, if you will. Like my 3 daughters from a previous marriage, they took to Jordan's mother like she was their mother. They never made a difference.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. They never made a difference between my previous wife. They're both deceased now. And so they really are blended as sisters.
Yeah. Greg, you got anything you want to add? I got 2 more questions, and then I think we're going to wrap it up, but I want to make sure.
We good. We can go to the next one. Y'all know I'm a co-host.
So Oh, but go ahead.
Real quick,
Yes,
I was
please.
giving these two their flowers with the podcast. Tim, I appreciate you. You're a great co-host. We miss you.
Tam.
And I forgot to
Tam.
add that earlier today, earlier in our conversation. I don't want you to think I forgot you.
That was cool.
You're just so thoughtful. I appreciate it. He got me roses this morning, y'all. Just beautiful roses. What they call them in my soft season. So, but I do have actually a question for senior you and dad. Communication. How did you communicate because Alfred was with his grandparents and his mom, like, what's the communication? And maybe throw some advice out there to say, y'all, I want Alfred to live in the household with me. Is his grandparents okay with that? If they're not, what's the conversation like that? And maybe give some advice. And you, Dad, your ex-wife and your new wife, that's not an easy conversation at times. So how did you navigate that? What were some things you wanted to communicate? And, what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to work on a blended situation?
Well, I would say this here. When you advocating for your partner's kid to come live with you guys, if they live in someplace else, they already settled over there where they at he was settled with his grandparents over there, doing good, going to school, and she was really, really content with that.
Yeah.
But you have to make the person you're talking about being with comfortable and confident that you're going to be there. You're going to be around. You're not just going to be there for a minute and then you move her kid out of a safe environment and bring them with you, and she don't have the confidence in you to believe that you're going to be there. So you got to show confidence and be stable in who you are as a man. If you're trying to say, I want to raise your other kid too,
that's right,
and you're not even doing things the right way.
Yeah.
So I would say that you got to make sure that you're working. Mm-hmm. You're supplying the needs of the family, and y'all well balanced on what you're doing. So she says, okay, well, I trust what you're saying, and I will bring my kid to our house where we at and allow you to raise him and be in his life and teaching about being a man, because that was important to me to make sure that happens. And she knew, I was assuming because she did it. She went and got him, even though he was fighting the whole way. To come there. So I would just say you got to make sure that you really, really want this, and not just trying to.
That's right.
Take the kid so you can
impress the mom,
or make that hurt the father, his biological father, mad or whatever whatever you're trying to do. You got to make sure it's genuine what you're trying to do about teaching this boy, bringing him with you so you can help him become a responsible man in life, and show him some love and some attention and give him some things that you want to give him. You want to make sure that he has some of your values and understands of life. Yeah. And then let her know, hey, yeah, I love you and I love him too. Right. I love how many kids she got. She may have 2 or 3, but if you're going to be there, then be there for all of them.
That's right.
And be willing to you got to really, I don't want to say sacrifice, but just give your all in the situation there if you're going to be in it with the mother or the father. And the same thing I'm going to say the same thing for mothers too. If your husband or boyfriend got kids,
that's right,
they're going to need that love.
Absolutely.
From you, and not show difference between the ones you gave birth to versus the ones he brought to the table. So it works both ways, and you got to show love on either side. And teach. If you're gonna discipline, you gotta love at the same time. Can't discipline all the time and not show love. Right. So it's important to have a balance in that. Balance is important. Yeah.
Balance is important.
I agree with everything he said. In addition to that, it goes back to your childhood development. It goes back to the values that your parents instilled in you. For instance, my father would always tell us, if you are man enough to have a child, you should be man enough to take care of your children. Don't bring them in here if you don't want to take care of them. And so that motivated me that also encouraged me to take care of my kids. It's what my father instilled in me. He said, you can't be a man if you bring these children in here and don't take care of them. Take care of them. So it was non-negotiable with me. If I bring them here, I'm going to help them develop.
Yeah, for sure.
And grow into adulthood. So I wanted them all together. Plus, I wanted to instill my own values in their life. So that was my motivation.
Good. Babe, Greg, I got to add anything to that?
Take heed to the wise.
I got one more question, but babe, go ahead. Did you want to add something?
Like my father was saying, you know, when him and my mom had that conversation amongst them two, I remember like it was yesterday. My mom, she broke the news. I was at my grandparents' house. My grandpa, he used to call me Wardy, and that was his nickname, and vice versa, right, to him. And I had my papa on one arm, my mom on the other, and they was literally like pulling me. Yeah, my grandpa, he set me down real quick. I know we running short on time.
You good.
He set me down. He's like, are you sure you want to go over there and, you know, stay with your mom and, you know, stay with Dwight? I was like, yeah, you know, I don't mind. You know, and plus I didn't want them to be fighting like that, right? So to fast forward, he welcomed me with open arms. When my mom passed, he looked at me. He's like, you don't have to go. I want you to stay here, but I'm going to leave it up to you. And that's one thing I would take to my grave. And I love you. I appreciate everything you did for me. And I'm very, very blessed, man, to have my grandparents. They literally just passed probably about 7-8 years ago. And I don't have any complaints in life right now. I'm very blessed to have you in my life, to teach, you know what I mean, how to be a man, like we had that conversation earlier. But I'm going to pass the mic because I can run on all day.
No, that's what this is about. Listen, spread the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to wrap it up. And, you know, fatherhood and motherhood, it's not, we don't know either if you married or not. There's no way you're going to know how to raise a child, have a household with different dynamics. It really is. I'm 37. I'm still learning how to be a mother. My son is getting older, so he expects different things, you know, different things from his father. So what would you say, or what would you all say as a, you know, a couple of pieces of advice or nuggets that somebody can take with them, you know, maybe they're expecting or, you know, thinking about getting into being a father? What are some key things that you think that they, you know, could take with them in that journey, in beginning that journey of fatherhood?
Just learn as much as you can. I mean, parenting is two people in most cases. You got a mom and a dad. Both were raised differently and want to bring the values that were instilled to them to the same child that you now share. Communicate. Figure out what works, figure out what doesn't work, figure out what's best for the child. Make sure you understand who that child is and consistently learn your child, because every method that worked for you is not going to work for your child. So it's very important that you're consistently learning, consistently evolving, but asking questions and making sure you're understanding, you know, who your partner and who your child is at the same time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Dad?
My advice to folks who are thinking about raising children or having kids is to make sure you get all of your youth out of you. There's a lot of people who have kids who still want to run the nightclubs.
That is a great point.
That is.
Get it out of your system.
Yeah.
If you can, restrain yourself until you get your running out.
That's a good one.
If you don't, it's going to be a rough road. And it'll be rough for the child. That's my advice. Get it out of your system.
That's good,
and then
Dad.
be prepared to settle down and take on the responsibility of child raising.
That would have been a good closer.
That's a good.
That's really good.
That would have been a good closer.
Yeah.
Good job.
I agree with that. I would also say when you think about getting into a relationship and getting married and having babies, make sure you're ready for it. And that person that you choose, make sure that y'all are really compatible. Don't just look at the beauty or the money, the cars or the house. Make sure it's deeper than that, because if you get together because you like how she look and she likes how he looks and how tall he is and what kind of car he's driving, right, that's just surface stuff. You gotta make sure y'all are balancing how you think, how you want to live, where you want to live, what kind of things you want to do in life, how many kids you want. You gotta talk about. You gotta ask questions to each other. And I'm gonna say this too. Look at her family structure, how she was raised and where she came from, because we don't ask enough questions before we decide to get together, because it's just about the surface stuff at first. But once you get past that, I would say that be ready to settle in. In a way where you can enjoy each other and the kids you're about to have. Because just because you get married, they say you got a ball and chain. It's not that. If it's the right person, right? It's a beautiful thing if it's the right person that you're with. Make sure you want to come home to that person every day. Because they stimulate you more than just physically. That's right. It's a mental thing you got going on there. Y'all can have conversation. Y'all can sit in the same room together and not say nothing and be at peace. That's right. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to entertain her. She ain't got to entertain me. We just happy being together. That's right. So choosing the right person is important as you guys flow together.
I have a follow-up question. I'm sorry, babe. I know we're running out of time, but Dad and Senior, you have kids with people that you're not with. And I think we forget about, y'all still have this child together. We still need to communicate. We still need to have some commonality there, because we are raising this child together, even though it's not in the same household. That can be challenging. What advice would you give for that? Like, your child may be in a different household, but you're still involved. Like, how do you navigate that? And what's some advice to kind of give people in that situation?
In my particular case, my children, with the exception of my spouse now, which I didn't have children by, the their children's mother is deceased. So we don't have those conversations. But when they were living, we had some very meaningful conversations about my expectations, my goals for the children, and what they expected and wanted. And they were in line with one another.
So you still need that alignment.
You still have to have, like the brother said, you have to be on the same page. You can't be on page 88 and them on page 1. You got to be together.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a conversation and things that you really want to go a certain kind of way, and hopefully she agrees with you. Like,
that's right.
I have a younger son that's 26. My thing was, because we weren't together, so my thing was, okay, I know you may meet somebody else, but when it comes, he's a boy, so when it comes to sports, that's my department.
Shout out to Jared.
I don't want no man coming in trying. You can get some guys about, you're going to take my son through this here with him without talking to me about it. So we had that, and she agreed, and so that was good. That we agreed with that, and I said, I know he's going to be around and talking to him, and I'm fine with that. And as long as if he disciplines and love is there, I'm not that person that said, don't touch my son if he does something wrong. But you got to have that conversation. It's a tough thing, especially if y'all really just not seeing eye to eye on stuff. It can be rough. So I would say choosing who you have babies with is very important. And so make sure you're discussing those things first. But it's a conversation, and don't always go exactly like you want it to go, because they had different ideas. But if you got pretty close to getting what you wanted when you met this person, then you guys should be able to have some good dialogue and work things out. But you gotta communicate. Yeah, you can't be all your way, all her way, but you gotta be in the middle. I'm a balanced person. I like balance in anything I'm doing. So I'm always be preaching that balance. Not too much of one thing, not too much of the other, but just kind of meet in the middle sometimes for things, and it works out a lot more when you have that good communication with them.
Yeah.
Okay. To go back with your question, what I would tell the new up and coming fathers, be patient. And I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you guys. Be patient with your kids. My cousin Greg, that's one thing he told me. Time go by so fast. Enjoy the moment with your daughter or your son, and just watch them grow. And that's my thing. Is being patient, I would have to say, and just enjoy and live in the moment with the kids, with your kids.
I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
To young folks, I know y'all think that me and Doc over here are old, but life repeats itself. It's not just, it just start over because you guys are younger. It repeats itself. So we have a lot of wisdom. So don't be afraid. Don't be saying, I ain't going to ask the older people because they're going to have this old school way of thinking, but it's solid. You know what I'm saying? It's solid in its information and direction. That's right. And it'll help you along the way because you need a little bit of your friend-to-friend communication, but you also need some people that have some knowledge, been through some things, to sing things over and over again. Yeah. It'll help you. Yep. So don't just discount it because we're older and you think that they don't know. They're going to tell you this and that don't make sense nowadays because this is 2024. Yeah. But it really doesn't make a difference on what year you're in.
That's right.
Knowledge is knowledge and information, but you got to use both if you're trying to come together.
Well, my final statement regarding that, and that's right on target, is that in Ecclesiastics it says there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Maybe in different shapes and different sizes, but there's nothing new. We've gone through what other people are going to go through, and our wisdom is invaluable.
Love it.
I agree. My dad, we're both Gemini power. We're very similar, so we do bump heads, but we also have that commonality where we communicate, and my dad has taught me that, and he will always say, like, you don't got to agree with what I'm saying. Just hear me out and take that seed and, do what you want with it. But if I would say as a daughter to a father that you have to communicate to your parent, to your mom or to your dad, to your grandma, to whoever, just because, like my dad said, a lot of the things I'm going to go through that he already went through. So I appreciate having you, Dad, continually dropping those seeds of wisdom. So I think, does anybody have anything they need to get out there before we wrap it up? Any other thoughts that they want to share?
No, it's been fun.
It has been fun. Yes. I just want to say thank you to all the gentlemen on here. Literally have been instrumental in different stages of my life. Greg, we're in the stage of the podcast. He has been a blessing because we look like we really in a studio.
Got it together.
He leveled us up. So all of these men have been extremely instrumental in my life, and I wanted to give them their flowers because they are amazing men, amazing Black men, amazing fathers, husbands, significant others, just leaders in our lives. So this is me giving y'all your flowers. Thank you very much. I love y'all very, very much and appreciate y'all. And I hope that y'all have enjoyed this episode. And Greg always tells me, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and comment below. We're going to tag all of these men have great businesses, and we're going to tag them in the YouTube video. We hope you come back and see us. Tam, we miss you. She will be back next episode. So until then, do not forget, no tea, just coffee. Bye.
Yo.